Hi, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. Recently, I made a video that looked at all the branches of the military. And actually, hold on, I have these cards, and so we did the Army, Coast Guard, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Space Force. So in the comments of that video, someone asked if I could do a video looking at the different police branches. And I thought that seemed like an interesting idea. I want to just stay up front. I'm not going to get into the politics of all of this right now. This is just a video just looking at what the different branches are, and I will try to not have any personal commentary come into it. I don't think so, because it's pretty straightforward. So I guess we'll just start with local law enforcement. So local law enforcement is your, some of you might vote for sheriff. So that would be your sheriff's department. And different localities, municipalities, towns, cities have different, like some have city police, some have municipal police. But that would be like your city. Having trouble spelling this morning. Municipal police. So these operate within a city or town. They enforce your local laws, like your city ordinances, but also state laws. So like an example of that would be the New York City Police Department or LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department. That's your local law enforcement. And then the sheriff, like I said, they're usually elected. They serve your county, including areas that are outside the city limits. And their responsibilities can include running the jail, serving court papers, patrolling like the rural areas. So that would be like the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. So that's kind of your local law enforcement. And then you have your state level law enforcement. And that would include the ones most of us, if we've run into law, have run into, at least for me. And that's the Highway Patrol. Sometimes also known as state police. There's a great, I'm blanking his name. There's a great song about Highway Patrol. If I think of it, I'll link it. It's a good one. Anyway, and then there's, what was I saying? I went off track. Oh, so the state and highway patrol, they focus on enforcing state laws across the state. They usually patrol highways, giving out speeding tickets, and investigate major accidents and assist the local police. Some states call them state police. Some call them highway patrol. California has California Highway Patrol. Pennsylvania has Pennsylvania State Police. So it just kind of depends on the state, but they're kind of the same. So that is the state and local. You know, one thing I was looking up about state level, in like movies that I remember from when I was a kid, I feel like it was like Smokey and the Bear, but maybe it was older than that. They'd be on a police chase, chasing the bad guys. And the bad guys were always trying to get out of the state because they knew as soon as they hit the state line, the police would just stop their cars and wouldn't go any further. And apparently that's kind of true. Like county, city police can't really work out of their city. Um, State police don't really go out of the state. But as far as that chasing a vehicle goes, there's an exception with that they call the hot pursuit or fresh pursuit rule. And it basically, if you're chasing after somebody like that, you can go outside of the state and keep, following them. You're calling it into that state, of course, but if you're the only one in pursuit, and then if you arrest them, you generally hand them over to their local police department. So that whole thing with get outside the state lines might not work if you're running from the cops. Okay. So next we have federal law enforcement. Now this is a bigger group. Oh, can you see? I didn't realize I have it too high. Okay. So under the federal law enforcement, you have the federal did I say that wrong again? Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. So they investigate federal crimes like terrorism, cyber crimes, organized crime, civil rights violations. They often work with your local police or your state police. And then you have the Immigration and Custom Enforcement, ICE. They are part of the Department of Homeland Security, and they enforce immigration laws, investigate customs violations, and human trafficking. They work under federal law, not local ordinances. So that's that one. And then there's the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and they're focused on federal drug laws. Now, one thing I was thinking about is that a lot of states now have like legalized marijuana, but it is still illegal in the federal. So technically a DEA agent could arrest you under federal law, even though it's legal under state law. But there is a thing with state laws kind of override but they don't. But most federal agents aren't going to do that within the state. They've got agreements. But it's kind of an interesting thing. I don't know. I didn't look too hard into that. So in the comments, feel free to. Anyway, okay. And then there's the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. And that is the ATF, which is alcohol, tobacco, firearms. And they focus on firearms, explosives, arson, alcohol, tobacco regulations, things like that. And there are the U.S. Marshals. There used to be a TV show, didn't there, about U.S. Marshals? Or was. Anyway, whatever. And they protect federal courts. They transport prisoners. They handle fugitives. Yeah, the fugitive, I guess. What's his name? Played him, U.S. Marshal. Anyway, okay. And then you've got your Customs and Border Patrol. And Border. Protection, I guess it's called. Protection. So they manage the borders, ports of entry, and customs enforcement. So those are the main, federal law enforcements. Now there are some smaller and more specific, like Secret Service or the U.S. Postal Inspections. There are other things, but these are kind of the big main ones. And then outside of these, there are some kind of specialized. Let's see, I should write that big. Specialized branches, like Transit Authority. Like they do, Transit Authority does, like, your subway people or public transit systems. That's Transit Authority. And then there's also Port Authority. Like when we lived in Maryland, Port Authority's you hear about it all the time. They do like the airports, bridges, tunnels, ports, I would assume, actually. And then if you go to college, there are campus police. They're actually hired by the campus, but they are like the university police, campus police. They are, they can, I don't know how to say it, not deputized, but they're police. They're real police. And then there's, that's kind of more interesting, I guess, is the tribal police. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I messed that one up. Tribal police. So they serve their own government because tribes have their own government. They're not like part of the federal government. They have a unique legal status, but they do often cooperate with state and federal police departments to help with things if they need it. But like the biggest one is the Navajo Nation Police. They're huge. Well, they're the biggest of the Native American, but they're big. So that's tribal police. So those are kind of all sort of specialized police. So that's kind of, a lot of them. So yeah, we have the local. Is basically your sheriffs and your city. So if you are like me, and most of my run-ins with police have been speeding tickets. Not as much anymore. I'm more careful because they've gotten so expensive. But if you're on the highway and you're speeding, then you're most likely getting pulled over by the highway patrol or the state police. That's who you usually are going to run into. But if you're like in a little town, in a city, and you get pulled over on Main Street, let's say, that's probably going to be the city police. So they can also give you a ticket. If you're out kind of beyond the city, but not on a highway, sort of a rural road, that a lot of times is your sheriff. You're like county police. So that's my... All right. Then we have the federal law enforcement. Oops. The FBI, ICE, the drug enforcement, the alcohol, tobacco, firearms, the U.S. Marshals. Tommy Lee Jones, that's the name I was trying to think of. In The Fugitive, Tommy Lee Jones plays a marshal, I think. U.S. Marshal, ICE, DEA, ATF, and Customs and Border Protection. Okay, and then you're sort of specialized. So the largest of the state police is the California Highway Patrol. California Highway Patrol, which is CHP, which if you're like my age, you might remember the TV show Chips with Eric Estrada. And that is what they called. They were California Highway Patrol. So there we go, their specialty. The Texas Department of Public Safety, they wear cowboy hats. And they're allowed to, kind of unusual, they're allowed to inspect commercial trucks. And I think that is to keep an eye on the, things coming in over the border, whether it's people or drugs or whatever. So that's just a little fact about them. And then the New York State Police, they wear a gray uniform with like a Smokey the Bear looking hat. And I was reading up on that Smokey the Bear hat because I was like, oh, is that why police are called Smokies? Like it used to be a thing on CB radios, which we had when I was a kid. And you'd go, Smokey, coming up. I'm trying to remember. Shoot. Oh, we got a Smokey. 10-4, good buddy. Anyway, my dad used to have a CB radio in our van, and he'd always be listening for Smokies. But I think the Smokey hat thing goes way back to like the 30s, and a lot of police departments, I don't know, it's part of like their campaigning or something. They all kind of wore these Smokey the Bear style hats. I don't know what you call them, campaign hats or contribution hats, I forget. And then the New York kept it, and it used to be like all through the 60s, I think a lot of highway patrol would wear them. And so I guess Smokey the Bear started wearing it after that. Oh, I forgot to talk about that. That's something else. Hold on. And so that's why he was named Smokey the Bear. So then people started calling the police Smokies. I think it kind of went 1, 2, 3. I forgot to mention too the parks system. That would be kind of a specialized, like the national parks have their own police too. I guess they just go under, they'd be federal. Let me think about that for 1 second. Yeah, the national parks have their own, because I've also been pulled over by national park police. Actually, that was a state park now that I think about it. It was Stony Creek in Detroit area. But yeah, I guess the national parks would be under here. They have their own police. I'm trying to think if there's any other interesting information I read. What other kinds of police would there be? Yeah, we have to write that down. I think that is, I'm sure national parks. Oh, hold on a minute. Then what are park rangers? Are they police? Uh-oh. Okay. I didn't look that up. I'm not sure. National parks rangers. That's got to be under federal, right? All right. Somebody in the comments. I forgot to look that up. I assume they're under federal. But I think they also pull people over within the park. I don't think they have regular police inside the parks, but I could be wrong about that. Well, there we go. So local are your sheriffs and city municipal. State level is highway patrol and state police. Federal is FBI, U.S. Marshals, ICE, DEA, ATF, Customs and Border. Unclear. Kind of specialized transit authority, port authority, campus police, tribal police. Now, when you're at like a mall and they have security, they're not police. I don't know what they count as. Just paid security. I don't know. All right, that's all I can think of. I don't remember looking anything else up. goes under federal. The Port Authority goes under specialized. A sheriff goes under local. ICE goes under federal. The Transit Authority goes under specialized. National Park Rangers, I think they're going to go under federal, but I'm not even positive they're police. That one I'm not sure about. They might be some other thing. City and Municipal Police goes under local. The U.S. Marshals goes under federal. Customs and Border Protection, federal. It's interesting that that's separate from ICE. I don't know if I really thought about that so much before. I mean, I guess. And if you're curious about the budgets for some of these things, I did a one big beautiful bill video that explains it. Campus police is under specialized.